Shannon Sharpe, who played for Mike Shanahan and might have Mike Shanahan on speed dial. I don't even know. Maybe he's calling him and talking about Brock Purdy all the time. On his show, said that Brock Purdy is a product of the system and is not an elite quarterback. Is that an outrageous thing to say? I mean, you can't really say that in the Bay Area. Like, you're not allowed to say that. But I don't know. What do you think?
He's not an elite quarterback. He's not. Come on. I mean, he's true on that. If anything, what he said that really bothered me was all Purdy has to do is go out there and not throw turnovers. And I was like, what do you mean go out there and not throw turnovers? So all of a sudden, like not throwing turnovers is like so easy to do because everyone does it and it's so common. It's pretty much accepted now. So the fact that he's been doing that has not been doing that since week 17 of last season. That's damn impressive. That's a skill in itself. So I don't think it's so much just strictly the system. So we've seen this system the same way under Jimmy freaking Garoppolo.
That's
and it
what I was going to
say.
City
galore.
That's what I was going to say.
So I think it's like, okay, that's, if anything, that's an elite trait in itself. And maybe he's trending towards that direction, but he needs to play at least out of the season going into next before I even talk about him being elite. Other than that, I remember Sharpe also mentioned, like, if you take away Debo, George Kittle, he pretty much said, if I take away every Niners quarterback, every Niners skill player, I'm like, okay, you pretty much just make your argument. So if I basically put them on the Giants, like, no death. Why do you think those guys look that bad? Because there's no one around them. That's the point. I mean, I think it's funny that they're trying to use this to discredit him because we've seen examples of other quarterbacks, aka Jimmy Garoppolo, in the situation, not do jack. I always compare Jimmy Garoppolo as someone at the dinner table where he leaves half of his food of the dinner plate still left over. It's like, dude, there was so much left to be had. Where Purdy, there's only probably like 10% left of the food on there. He makes the most of the opportunity. He lifts up. He taps into the potential of everyone. So to me, it's like he's more than the system quarterback. He's optimizing it.
Yeah, like to say he's a product of the system, first of all, what does that even mean? Like, to me, a product of the system means that he wouldn't even be good if it wasn't like he'd be bad. And to me, that's Jimmy Garoppolo. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo this year. That's he was a product of the system, no question. I don't think Brock Purdy's a product. He does too many things well to say that he'd be bad on another team. Now, does the system enhance his numbers? Does the supporting cast enhance his numbers? Yeah. But I mean, like, just because he's in an offense that fits him perfectly, why is that a bad thing? Like, so is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is in an offense that fits him perfectly with a great supporting cast. Like, no one really knocks him for that. Or, how about in the 80s, Joe Montana? He was in the perfect system for him. They built it for him. And he had Roger Craig, Brant Jones, Jerry Rice, I'm not saying Brock Purdy's Joe Montana, but he's in the same situation. The Raiders literally wouldn't have wanted Joe Montana. They would have been like, sorry, can't throw down the field.
They need someone with the bomb back system.
Yeah, it doesn't fit our system. Sorry, it doesn't fit our team. So, I mean, you can say that about a lot of – Tom Brady was a system quarterback to a degree. Threw a lot of short passes. So, I don't think you can really knock a quarterback for being on a team that uses a system that's right for him. Like, that's just good coaching. You're supposed to do that. Every quarterback's supposed to have that luxury.
You know what else reminded me of this? I remember, I don't know if we also had a topic once upon a time, like 2 years ago of this, but I remember, like, at least with friends and family, like, man, did the 49ers mess up by not drafting DK Metcalf instead of Deebo Samuel? And to me, it was always like, no, I think both players went perfectly where they were. Why? Because it fits. And I'm thinking that's kind of the first thing I thought about when Shannon Sharpe was talking all that. It's like, look, DK Metcalf might be the better pure wide receiver. I think he is, but he wouldn't fit in the 49ers offense as well as Deebo Samuel does because it's not what Kyle Shanahan literally pertains to with running. Yeah. That's what he's got Brandon Ayuk for. Even Ayuk doesn't do so much of he does a lot more like shiftiness and like he just does everything. So you just need that one guy. Metcalf would be more like just the bombing guy that they don't really need or utilize too much. Deebo Samuel is the one that they really have do all that shape shifting and everything in terms of receiver, running back, and just utilities, man. I don't see Brock Purdy being that system quarterback because, again, it's been too many times now. You mean to tell me Kyle Shanahan has the system so well that they're able to score 30-plus points practically every game except for 2, Dallas playoff game and Seattle last year, that he can do it? If that was the case, why didn't the other quarterbacks do that? I only say Garoppolo because, we've already seen backup quarterbacks in the system before other than Garoppolo, but it's just, no, I think I've seen enough where it's like, no, he's definitely the uplifting figure. That's someone who optimizes it and puts them in control and literally makes everyone play to the potential and doesn't leave enough to be had.
Yeah. Is he elite? You can't say that after
No, that's
14,
a little
13 career
premature.
games. But he is incredibly consistent. And what he does well, he does every week. Like it's hard to say it's a fluke or it's like, remember Jeremy Lin when he went on that run and people called it Linsanity and everyone was like, this is a lot of fun, but like this is not going to sustain, and it didn't. I think we're past that with Brock. This feels like he's here to stay, and it doesn't mean he's going to be an MVP, but it feels like he's going to be the starting quarterback for a long time here, unless he gets hurt again.
Grant, we were just literally months away talking about was he going to have Tommy John on his freaking elbow,
Right.
and he's coming back now. We've seen the sample size before and after, and it's like, I don't see anything different. I don't see anything different.
Leading the league in passer rating.
No picks on throwing arm. Remember, this is the throwing arm, not the arm where he just holds the ball. And this is his throwing arm. That's insane to me. I mean, it's honestly, I really thought there was going to be a point in time. Now, maybe it will in the next 3 games, but that he would have started getting a little bit more exposed or come down to earth because they had more film on him last year. He didn't have time to work on himself, but it's like, shoot, maybe it wasn't so much he didn't have time to work on himself. Maybe he just didn't have enough time to show what else he had, to show enough that he was like actually a pretty solid quarterback. And it's so far it's looking like more than that than what I thought. My theory was going to be that he was going to get more coming down to earth because again, he didn't have time to work on himself. It was just working on how to throw again.
What's interesting to me about this comment from Shannon Sharpe is, again, he played for Mike Shanahan. He's one of the best players that Mike Shanahan ever coached. And the way I understand coaches is they love their best players like their children, like they're their personal, like, you know, like I created you to an extent and you made me look good. So I'll love you forever. I would imagine Shannon Sharpe has Mike Shanahan's number, and I would imagine they have a close relationship and they could talk about stuff like this. And I wonder if Mike's side of the story is, Brock Purdy, nice little story, nice little quarterback, but he is just a function. He is a product of my kids' offense. Let's be honest here. I feel like the Shanahans aren't that modest. You know what I mean? Like they're not that modest, and they take a lot of credit for stuff. I wonder privately if the two of them, Kyle and Mike, are like, it's me, it's us. Like this is all a product of what we do.
I feel like, especially with Mike, I don't think it's Kyle, at least not yet, but I feel like with Mike, I agree with that theory 1,000%. Because this is one thing that all these like insiders, like former athletes do is like, they don't come with the on the fly. They're talking to these people and they're putting it off as their own opinion. Like no one's not, that's why do you think they're called analysts or experts? They're not really experts. They're experts in knowing people. There's a difference. So I think in your sense, I'm with you. I just don't think it's necessarily Kyle and Mike talking with each other. I think it's Mike like, oh, dude, that's all my son's doing, Shannon. Like, come on. Like, are you serious? Come on. That's my system that he built upon. Like, that's more my system.
Why are they so enthusiastic about Sam Darnold? Because I think the Shanahans think that Brock is a product of their system. So if Lil Brock Purdy can lead the league in passer rating on this team, imagine what Sam Darnold could do. Now, maybe he's not as good as Brock, but I feel like they think their system and this team can pretty much create any quarterback. And at this point, there's no use in paying for it, which maybe is true. We'll see. I don't know about Sam Darnold, but we'll see.
I think that's a fact because, again, they had Garoppolo looking like a top 15, top 20 quarterback, 15 to 20 quarterback, not top 15, but 15 to 20 range quarterback with him, and now he's bottom 5. So I think if they're them, they don't look in their system as like, all right, they don't look at players like, oh, I'm judging them so much of what they did before. I'm judging them kind of off that, and what can they do when I put them with us? What can I do with my system? What can I do with the players around us? So that's why I think ultimately why they think Sam Darnold can actually be a capable, competent, and sufficient quarterback if he does need to step in at any point.
That's why I feel like Niner fans don't get it. They're always so fiercely defending their quarterback. I think their own head coach is usually as skeptical as anyone.
Yeah.
About how good the quarterback actually is. Like, hey, we can win with him and he can operate my system and I like him, but come on, it's all me here. And people that are saying that Brock Purdy's elite or taking this kind of stuff personally might want to remember the fact that the Shanahan's father and son probably feel the same way as Shannon Sharpe privately. So
yeah, probably
maybe
don't
they're
view
wrong.
him as an irreplaceable quarterback just yet. But again, it's only been 5 games into this season, 7 to 8 from last. So by the time the season ends, maybe a lot of our tunes change.
They probably think they can win the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold if it comes down to it. I bet they do.
I feel like Purdy has a better decision making on his hand than at least Darnold does. That's the one thing I feel
No
confident in.
question.